Sure. Where does one start? I'm going to try and not make it a tearjerker moment, although it's not that easy. But for those of you that don't know, that's our dear colleague Zaza, principal of, I don't know how to pronounce the school. Sorry? Umyezu in Grabo, and tragically we lost her in 2020. And so this afternoon is really just to pay tribute to an amazing lady. I was not the business partner, but what I can say, and I'm sure all of us that shared the Winelands 10 circle with her, knows her as a bubbly person, a lively person, an outgoing person, and she's impacted each one of our lives in one way or another. So today it's just to pay tribute to her. Is that her daughter? Thank you so much for joining us today as well. If you can maybe just go on to the next slide, just to give a bit of background context for those who don't know Zaza. So she's a mother, grandmother, sister, friend, colleague, and of course a principal. She's got two beautiful daughters, one of which is here today. Umyezu, who's a production planner, is that yourself? And who's a production planner at Rise Uniforms. And then her youngest daughter, Kanye, 18 years old, has just enrolled for a teaching degree at UWC, following in the footsteps of her mom. I think that's a tribute in itself. Her grandson being 3 years old, and 4 brothers who all reside in the Eastern Cape. It's her family, and the late Zaza was a teacher for 21 years before she became permanently appointed as the principal of Umyezu School, High School in Grabo on the 1st of Jan. Sadly, she lost her life on the 18th of September due to a drive-by shooting. And so, yeah, we don't want to go into that level of detail, but just to say that this is just a tribute to Zaza, a phenomenal person. Some of us knew her on a more personal level, those of you that are principals, maybe in your circle, and those of us in Winelands 10, I can certainly say on behalf of all of us that it was an honor and a privilege to know her. In my line of work, what I tend to do is when I engage with people, you know, we were taught that the first 30 seconds to a minute is really the most powerful engagement with an individual. And my first 30 seconds to a minute engagement with Zaza was wow. You know, really just wow. She carried such a presence with her when she walked into a room. And so that's been my lasting impression with her as well. And I'm sure by the smiles and the laughs in the room that everyone shares that sentiment. So I just want to ask, just for a short moment of silence, are we going to light the candle for now, Jessica? If somebody can maybe just help us with that.
Okay, so we obviously have a little bit of challenges, but to the group, I just want to introduce you. This is Zaza's oldest daughter, Umyezu. So welcome. This is now Winelands 10, and this is all our guests. And I'm going to ask you to light the candles. Whenever you think about your mom, you can light the candle.
Come on, mascot. Yeah, there we go. That's just like her mum, absolutely. Makes a presence when she comes into the room, and we really appreciate it. There's a psalm in Psalm 116 says this, and I think it's such a suitable thing. It's precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of one of his saints. And she was a saint. She really was. A very vivacious, exciting, take over the room saint. And we loved her to bits. I personally loved her absolutely to bits. She was just wonderful. And thank you for being here, and please enjoy the day.
Thank you.
Because you're part of the family. Amen?
Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you. Thank you. So obviously, for myself, dealing with this talk, it was kind of cut short halfway through the year. But I wanted just to go through where we started and how we got involved with one another. First of all, I think let's have a look at, we've got it, there we go, we have it, right. So that was the day when we all got our certificates and we started the journey together. And I was introduced, next slide, I was introduced to this amazing woman, and that was actually on the day. And we're laughing. What else did we do? We laughed. And one of the things I really found difficult being with Zaza was to actually be serious. Because we just laughed. We just had such fun together. And funny enough, that was the day before she died. We were actually having a cup of coffee. Now, this is Zaza's idea of a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock in the morning. I need to ask Owetu if this is really what she's like. This was at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was a very large steak at Orchards. Which I thought, no, this is a little early for me, but anyway. But we were discussing what we were going to do, and we were really still on track for all the ideas that we had in mind. Next slide, thanks. This is the school, and you saw a picture of I hope I can get the sound back up for you, because this school has got 1,400 students. They are the most amazing, vivacious bunch of kids I've ever met. And I've still been working there often with the new principal who's in there by the name of Stefan Furland. He's from Grabo. And we are continuing to try and do the projects that we set out to do. But what has really struck me is the way that the students have got involved. They are the most polite, amazing kids you ever met, coming out of the most difficult environment. The township in Grabo, I have been in many townships in the whole of Africa. I've never been to a township like the one in Grabo. It's appalling. And how these beautiful children come from there with such decorum and strength really amazes me. So, and that I think is a tribute to this amazing woman. So the first thing we wanted to do is, behind you will see the shelves for the library. It's a brand new school, it has a brand new library, and it literally has hundreds of shelves and not one book. So we have a big library and a lot to fill. So we were standing there with the vision of, let's get this library filled. That was our first idea. So next slide. And this is this year as the books are beginning to come in. And it's just been amazing. So what we've been doing is trying to fill from the community itself. And most of these books came from one of the shops up there. It's a fantastic bookshop. If ever you go to Peregrine, anybody go to Peregrine? Actually, I should say, who doesn't go to Peregrine on the N2? There is now a bookshop there, and it's Christie's bookshop. Absolutely fantastic. And you should see her house. There's about this much space to sleep in. Most of it's books. And so she sorted out some books, and probably about 2,000 books came our way, which is fantastic. Not all what I would call the right things that kids should read. It's not all brilliant. Some of the encyclopedias were written in 1950, but it's still information, and it's all books, and we can get our hands around them. So it's exciting, and we're starting this and we hope to have this finished during the course of the year. So we need to fill those empty shelves. And next slide, you can see we still have a few to go. So we're going to work at that, and I'm hoping that with the new contacts we've made with one of the ladies for the next year, she is actually the person who fills libraries. So I'm going to try and get very friendly with her to see what we can do. Next slide. The second one was to put in gardens, to have community gardens which the children could look after. They could actually plant them and so on, and that would then be given back to the families in the community. So it started, it's on a bit of a small scale. Next slide. And we're getting the garden going, and to be honest, it's more the gardener putting his effort in than the kids, but we just need to get that turned around. And the last one is that we wanted to get involved with the community. And as many of you know, Grabo is quite a feisty place. It's a political hotspot, and it's renowned for the closures on the N2. And this particular community, which the school is involved in, was the prime closures of the N2. And in the same month that Zaza lost her life, there was a pastor by the name of Pastor Gift, who I was also involved with. And he understood, we did a program of leadership, and he understood that this is not the way to lead, is to close the N2. Yes, it gets results, because if you close the N2, the minister comes. You don't close the N2, the minister doesn't come. So it does get results. So we tried to explain that it's not the best thing in the world to do that. And so this amazing young man, who was the chief closuring of the N2 person, had a complete turnaround and was feeding 2,500 people daily in the community from his little church until he himself was murdered by the community. So we have some battles on our hands, and the community is the main one. It is a political hotspot, and we're trying to bring the community together. And so that we will continue to do, and that we will continue to do by getting the community involved in the school itself. Last slide, I think. Or was that the last slide? So family, I want to thank you very much for walking this journey with us. And I know it was a little short-lived, but I hope that the relationships that we made will be long-lasting. And if ever you have any more books left over, just you know where to send them now. These ones look pretty good. I think I'll just take them off the table. That will be great. But thank you so much.